Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second session of SUNY Brockport's Institute for Poverty Studies and Economic Development clinical hours. So again, we kind of gather every Wednesday morning for a couple hours, and we do a lesson on a key skill that would benefit public administration students, but really all students and community members that are looking to make an impact around poverty alleviation, or really just community building and improving neighborhoods in general. So we're excited about this project and glad that you're tuning in to learn a little bit here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with today's lesson, which maybe will take about 20 or 25 minutes. And what we're going to do is continue learning how to create data visualizations, particularly in this instance, maps, in a software product called Tableau. And so what you'll want to do, if you're looking at this and haven't already looked at our video of our September 16th lesson, you'll want to go to our YouTube channel and do that first. And so reach out to us and get some information about where that is and how you can connect with this project. And we've got several people that are with us this morning that can assist you. So reach out on social media or go to our website and get in touch with us. So, okay, the lesson for this morning again is working with some data sets that we've collected and turning them into maps. And to do this, we've developed a 9-step process. And so I'm going to go through this document, which I'll show quickly on the screen. Okay, so everybody should be able to see that. And so again, as I mentioned, in terms of reaching out, contact us and we can provide you this document and all the other data that we're working with, so you can really start to do some of this on your own. The process is really about how to collect data, how to clean it, how to upload it, and when we get into Tableau, as you can see, you don't need to read all of this. We've got very detailed steps about what you would need to do to be successful. And during these clinical hours after I'm done today, we invite everyone to stay around for an hour while things are fresh, and we'll help you actually apply what you learned. So this is what I'm going to be reading from, but I'm not going to keep it up on the screen. What I'm going to do is show you the data set that we are working with. And so give me a second to share that. And don't get dizzy looking at that. Okay. And I'm going to go with step 1. So in our process, what we're trying to get folks to do is bring in goals or problem statements that you have around trying to solve a community problem or advance a community goal. And so what we've chosen for illustrative purposes is ways to advance our community engagement efforts, specifically around houses of worship in Rochester, New York. And so this data set is one that we pulled from the City of Rochester's open data site. And the original source is actually an IRS exempt business file. And so what we've done what we did last week was we created a map using this. And so we turned all of the houses of worship in Rochester from this data into a map. So geographically, you can see where all the different houses of worship are. So to advance our goal of community engagement, it's great to know where a house of worship is, but how can somebody get in touch with them, learn more about them, and get engaged? So under step 2 of the process, where we're identifying data to support our goal, this is what we have found, and we want to try to build a little bit on it. And so what we did since last week was we took one church, Third Presbyterian, and went online and searched and found its website. So we added a column over here for website and started to build out some resources so that you can actually engage and not just know where the different churches are. So now I'm going to jump us to step number 4, which is cleaning the data. And that can really involve also adding information of your own. Step number 5, and this is where we get into the more of the learning in Tableau, is we're going to now upload this Excel file and create a map. So I'm going to close out of that, make sure it saves all my changes, and I'm going to pull up Tableau. So if you're tuning in and you don't have Tableau, again, reach out to us. We can help you either get a free or paid version and help you get all the technology set up so you can start to get into this work if you're interested. So when you first open up Tableau, you can see some maps over here. You have to start first by pulling in your data. And so we're going to double click on using an Excel file. And I saved that Excel file that I was just showing you with the different houses of worship here. And so I'm going to jump us down to step number 7 because there's only one data source. And so this makes our task a little bit easier. And in that step, the first thing you want to do is use the data interpreter to clean up the data. And so Tableau does a good job with this, so you don't have to do a ton of work, and so it can read all your data. So we have the data. Now we want to build our map. So we're going to come down here at the bottom to sheet 1, click there. And when you're mapping, as we went over last week, you want to make sure you have latitude and longitude. And so what we're going to do is find longitude and put that in the column, and we're going to put latitude in the row. So now you're only going to see one dot in the middle of a gray screen on top of Rochester, New York. But again, we're trying to map all of the houses of worship. And so to do that, Tableau needs to know what dimension you would like to map. And so this, you have to pull this from the dimension field, and we're going to map the name of the house of worship. And so we're going to drag that on top of color and let go. And voila, there are all the houses of worship. So that's good. We were successful there. You're not always, but in this instance, all the data came in cleanly. So what are we going to do today that's different? We're going to access the information that we added to the data set that we pulled off the City of Rochester site. And again, remember I showed you we went and got a website to start to add information for each of the houses of worship. And so we have to find Third Presbyterian Church on here somewhere. And so if you're not familiar with Rochester, that could be a challenge. One thing that will help us is in Tableau, you can come up here to Map, select Map Layers, and then you can add streets and highways, for example. And there's lots of other fun things that you can add. But this is what's going to help us for now. And so since I am familiar with the city of Rochester, I am going to know how to zoom in to where I want to go. But right, you could always, from your original data set, go into Google and find the cross streets, and then come back here and locate Third Presbyterian. There's lots of different ways to do it, but that's one of them. So I'm going to come over here, and I see Meigs and East. And so here is Third Presbyterian. And you'll notice we don't have much information on that right now. So we put the website in our Excel file, but it's not showing here. And so just like we had to drag the dimension name over here to marks to get our map to kind of populate, I now need to go and find the website dimension here into the marks. And so now when I click on Third Presbyterian, there's the website. And so ultimately you can publish all these maps online, and so the resources that you want folks to have access to, this would now show up on that public map that you've made. So this brings us to step number 8. Great, we've got a map, right? But how is this going to advance community engagement, right? There's always more you can do, and there's always more information that you can collect to really start to advance on your goal. And so one of the things we've decided to show you today is what would happen if you collected information on the denomination of each of these different churches. So say you wanted to know where all of the Jewish houses of worship were. You wanted to know where all the Christian or Protestant denominations were located. And so a great thing about Tableau is it lets you add in filters so you can start to sort information that way. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to, and let me come back to the video for this. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So now what I'm going to do is show you a little bit about how to collect data, right? Because that's, if you don't know where to find the data and you don't know how to interpret it, you're going to be really inhibited in how you can use Tableau. So one of the things that you probably saw when I pulled up that Excel sheet was a lot of data and a lot of columns. And the column headers, you know, had titles like NTEECD. And then the data in that column was X21 and X40. Well, if you don't know what those codes mean, then it's hard to kind of access the data and work with it. So if you'll remember, we identified that this data set originally came from the IRS. And so what we did was we went and located that code book. So I'm going to re-share my screen and show you that code book so we can start to make sense of some of the data. Okay, so here is the IRS Code Book. And again, reach out to us and we can provide you all of these files. And we are going to go down to page 25 and find the NTEE codes related to houses of worship. And it's coming up soon under X. Okay, so this code book tells us that under the NTE codes, all of the X's are your religion-related spiritual development organizations. And so you can see X20 is Christian, X21 is Protestant, etc. And so these are the distinctions that the IRS uses. So we're going to use those in terms of researchers as a good frame. All right, so I'm going to now go back to that Excel file and make that connection for you. And if this is in any way seeming, how am I ever going to replicate this? It's why we'd love for you to come into the clinical hours so we can kind of help you build this skill set. But for right now, here's Third Presbyterian Church. And as I said, we're going to go over to this column NTEECD, and we're going to look for the code. Now, what we learned in our research is that if an organization was registered before January 1995, they don't have a code. And so what I did was, although we have another Protestant church up here, I wanted to see what denomination is Presbyterian. And so I went and did a little research, and it was actually from the Pew Forum. And I also looked around on the Third Presbyterian website, and in my determination, they are a Protestant church. So I entered X21 here, which is why I highlighted it in yellow to note that I made a change to the original data set. So let's go back now to Tableau and see if we can find that data and make some use out of it. So I'm back in Tableau, and again I'm under my dimensions area, and here is the NTEECD. So if I drag that down here to marks, and I go back to Third Presbyterian, you now see X21 and that code displayed. So that's great. But again, I told you I was going to try to show you how to filter. And so we take that same dimension, NTEECD, and we can drag it up here to filters and let go. And by default, all of the denominations are chosen. So when we come back, your map isn't going to look any different because all the denominations are chosen. But what happens if we decided to come in here and edit the filter and select only Protestant churches? Remember from that code book, X21 equals Protestant. I'm going to click OK, and all of a sudden I've got a smaller N, or a smaller number of houses of worship in the city of Rochester to look at. And if we did this right, Third Presbyterian did not disappear because we coded it X21, and there it is. And we can start to see, okay, where are there other Protestant churches? And now this data is only as good as the IRS data. So I would just say as researchers, that's great to have data, but for this project, we're really about community engagement and working with communities to solve problems, right? And so I'm going to encourage everybody who's watching, and as they get involved, to come to this space wanting to reach out and work with community to use data that we can bring to the table to help and assist them in solving problems. And we call the social discipline window. Instead of doing things to or for communities, which sometimes can be what happens, especially in poverty alleviation, we really flip that and want to do things with community, because folks in a neighborhood are the ones that know their neighborhood, know their neighbors, know their assets, know what needs to be done to make their community stronger, and they're really looking for people to come and help them. And so we don't do a lot of this work in a vacuum. And so I say all that to say this is great to have a map, but you really need to go and talk to folks to find out how to make this information useful. Oops, scroll back out. So again, these are all the Protestant churches in the city of Rochester, and I'll note that have registered since 1995. And I'm going to show you one more thing, and then we're going to wrap up, because I could go on and on, but we really need to kind of limit your digestion, because I understand a lot of this can be complex. So let me show you one last thing, and then we'll wrap up for the day. If I come back to Edit Filter, and I remove the Protestant churches, and I select all those that are not available, and click OK, the map is now going to show you, according to the IRS data set, all the houses of worship that did not have an NTEE code. In other words, we can assume they were registered after 1995. And so one great project in terms of this community outreach would be to try to do some research and some outreach to find out if you can accurately categorize these houses of worship. Maybe there's other data sets out there that you can go and find that already have done it, or maybe this is the time to go out and start doing some of your own research and outreach. So let me check my notes before I sign off to make sure that I haven't missed anything. And I don't believe I have. I did allude to the fact that you can publish this, and so let me just show you what that looks like. You'll notice from social media this link icon, and that's one way that you can do this. Another is to come up here and go to Server, Tableau Public, and then you can save to Public. You'll have to go and register for a license for that, and I believe that should be free for students, and it's certainly either free or not a lot of cost if you're a member of the public. And so I guess I wanted to just end here, because it's great to make a map, and another thing that's useful is to go ahead and publish that. You can embed it on your website, you can embed it on your social media, and really get folks talking about the issues that you're working on. Not to solve the problem, but I really like to say this is a great tool to start a conversation. So if you want to start a conversation with us and learn more, again, visit IPSED's website. You're probably seeing this on our social media, and so you can connect with us there. And we hope that you're able to join us Wednesdays, or even just reach out and learn more about what we're doing and what you'd like to do, hopefully with us. So thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.